Welcome to episode 6 of the KIPS Personal Trainer Application Podcast. Whether a fitness professional is selling nutritional supplements, equipment, or CBD, it's important that they know the benefits, reactions, or even regulations that go along with the product. Today we have owner of Simple Jane, Angella Hamilton, on the podcast. She's going to talk about CBD, talk about what it is, the differences, and its application for fitness professionals. At the same time, this episode is sponsored by Simple Jane. Simply go to simplegene.co and enter code KIPS, K-I-P-S, at checkout. Let's start the episode. With CBD products and being a fitness professional, it's very important to understand what these are and how we can utilize them with our clients. Angella, can you explain the difference between CBD and what individuals know as cannabis?
Hi, yeah, Tyler. It's one of my favorite questions, really, because the cannabis plant itself, the CBD comes from the cannabis plant, and then also you'll find the CBD from the marijuana plant. And so in this instance, we're talking about the acronym for cannabidiol, which is the component in CBD, but in the cannabis plant, in the hemp plant. So we're going to be talking about the hemp plant here, the industrial hemp plant, which will be very distinctive between marijuana CBD and hemp-based CBD.
Gotcha. I know that this is a topic that you and I have discussed outside of this podcast. One of the first times I met you, I even joked about how I have fitness professional friends that when I told them about CBD and how I've utilized it for recovery, they would respond with, "Wait, are you using this to get high?" So where do those myths or where do those beliefs kind of come from, and kind of do people get high from these?
Well, another great question, and it is really one of the biggest questions that we get asked a lot. Am I going to feel a certain way because of this? And with hemp-based CBD, you will not feel high. There's no way that there's not enough THC, there's not any THC in this product that could make you feel a psychoactive response from that. So, in certain instances when there is THC, sure, you might feel a little more relaxed or something like that. But in the case that we're talking about specifically, you would not feel any type of high. There's just no possible way. It doesn't have that component in it.
That's good to know. I know that this is something that we've talked about before, but even for what we want to discuss today with personal trainers, fitness professionals in general, I think a lot of them have heard about CBD products for healing purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how those healing properties come to effect and how a fitness professional could potentially utilize these with their clients?
Sure. And I do want to clarify too, when you're talking about, people hear a lot that CBD can cure headaches and sleep and migraines and all of these different ailments. And you're asking yourself, how can it address all of these issues, right?
Yeah.
How can one thing be right for warming up people, and then also for addressing stress or for addressing anxiety and all of these things? And so it's important to really explain about the difference between internal CBD and how you can consume CBD, right? So there's internal CBD, which is in the form of tinctures and capsules and liquids and maybe some drops and things like that, things that you would take and put under your tongue. And then there's topical CBD, which is what we'll be, we're talking about in this instance, but which is just made for, you can use it for, in our case, warming up, or acute instances where like you have a sprained ankle or you need to relieve pain. So there's different ways, or people are still inhaling and vaping CBD, which I'm not a proponent for, so I wouldn't be talking about that in this case, but some people are still either vaping or smoking CBD in that way. So you look at it and you're like, well, how can it address all these things? And it's really about the endocannabinoid system in our body. So we all have, not to get too medical in this space, but we all have this system, just like we have immune systems and cardiovascular systems. We have an endocannabinoid system in our body. And so when you're consuming CBD, you're feeding that system. So it might be like taking vitamin C for your immune system, except that you're taking CBD for your endocannabinoid system, which is really used to regulate inflammation is the biggest part of it. Your endocannabinoid system helps to regulate pain centers. We have CBD and receptors in our skin. That's why it's so good topically. So there's different components to it as to why it addresses so many different ailments and how it's used, whether you're using it for ingestible or topical or inhaling it in that way.
So Angella Hamilton is the owner of Simple Jane Products. She has also had experience working in the fitness industry. And when we met, it was over close to a year ago at a fitness convention out in Phoenix, Arizona. And we started talking about the application. I shared with you some of the activities I do outside of running KIPS. And with personal trainers in general, I think there is a area where they can utilize these with their clients. And I know that for myself, when listening to you right now, something that stuck out was pre-workout utilizing CBD products. Can you talk about some of those applications of utilizing a before workout?
Yeah, thank you. So when we did meet, Tyler, actually, we have discovered so much even in this last year, because when we met, we were really still focused on using it as an after workout, as kind of more in recovery mode. And so what we started finding was that when we used it before class, so the oil in particular, it helped to increase circulation, increase blood flow and oxygen. So when you're using it into your chest, when people were using it before yoga, they could increase flexibility, which was huge. Because for a lot of people, before they even get onto the mat, they were having problems just sitting down on the mat, right? So if you can do something for somebody that can warm up your muscles before you even get on the mat or before you're exercising, ideally, yes, we're like, yes, we're going to spend some warm up time or whatever. But realistically, the fact that you can put some on your legs before a run or before you start working out to increase circulation, it's been a huge shift in mindset and also a change in people's performance. So it was huge. Yeah, I think as people start changing the conversation about using CBD as a fix for something and using it more of a lifestyle component, using it more into integrating it into your lifestyle, then it changes your performance and how you are ultimately your body is receiving the CBD itself.
Yeah. A lot of the common things I see on social media from a variety of people, whether they're fitness professionals or just someone that has a 9-to-5 job, is they have an experience with CBD, some type of CBD product, whether it's their hands or an elbow or a knee, and they all share very positive reviews about these products. So with moving this area forward, I still think this is a very booming area. This is the beginning of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And where are some of the, I'll say, areas that are causing CBD to not grow as quickly? Is there research on CBD and its application?
Well, yes. So there is a lot, there's more research being done, but just not enough. So a lot of, and like in our case in particular, and this is where, gosh, if a doctor is out there listening, please contact us, right? Because we are in need of more research to be done in this space. And especially with the combinations that we use with the Himalayan saltstone and the CBD. But most research out there that you'll find is with internal CBD, right? And so that is a much different application than external topical CBD, which we're seeing in the field that this is, you know, it's actually working. It's not something that's a placebo. It's not, I mean, we are constantly amazed ourselves of people coming back to us and be like, you would not believe. And we're like, well, okay, you know, tell us more. But we can't, you know, necessarily share those things. We're not doctors. We're not in the medical space. And so it's harder for us to share that because it sounds like a miracle, you know, something that we're exaggerating or something that we're trying to do for sales. So that's our catch 22. In the industry, I think we are going to be seeing more and more research being done, but it is so vast, and and there's so many components to it. You know, was that CBD did it have THC in it? How much THC, and so many different components to it. So there's not enough research out there, Tyler. We just got to get more, you know, antidote people trying it.
And that's I'll say an industry. I don't want to say it's an issue, but as items become more popular, we tend to see more research being developed to just provide answers to individuals within the industry on the efficacy and effectiveness of certain products, whether it's an exercise tool, whether it's a form of exercise. I mean, we can go back 10 years when high intensity interval training was, I'll say, starting to boom. And there was definitely research performed on high intensity exercise. But since then, there has been a vast amount of research performed on this form of exercise. So I think as CBD continues to grow, there will be more research performed on this topic. And it's also a need for the industry so that individuals can understand how to utilize it, but also the differences. I think that that's been the big thing that I know that before we start, I wanted to talk about the differences to provide that information for fitness professionals, personal trainers, group exercise instructors, strength coaches, so they know those differences, so that after they listen to this podcast, they understand, oh, wow, so that is something I can utilize with myself or with my clients. Because I think that one of the bigger things that strength coaches, personal trainers, group exercise instructors can take away from this is how this can be utilized to hopefully get your clients to exercise more. And that's a big thing that we've talked about in the past, but even I'll say as a industry issue is that we are so, I'll say the general audience is taught that a workout must be hard. It must be, just gut wrenching in order to be a quality workout. But wouldn't we rather have clients that can exercise more regularly, that can walk out of the building, can walk the next day, and by utilizing, I'm not saying continue that pathway, but here is a healing device that can hopefully help them, with their aches and pains, but also hopefully keep them exercising more, keeping a constant routine in that aspect. So I think that an area that we can move on to next to talk about is the whole promotion of it, because I think that there are stigmas attached to CBD, and I think that why it was so important to start the podcast talking about the differences and THC and ingesting or even using it as a topical form, because right now I think that the external view of it is something that some people will have an issue getting past. So as a fitness professional, what is your suggestion? And what have you seen even in the promotion of CBD?
Thank you for that question, because even as from the time that we've met, that has been so much different. In the beginning, the conversation with professionals really was about the difference between THC-based CBD and cannabis, and the difference between that. And now it's so shifted because it's so saturated and everybody's talking about CBD. People are almost tuned off. Now conversations are like, oh yeah, kind of like, oh, here's that, are almost tuned out to it, because it's so prevalent in the market. And so there's so much information. People are like, how am I supposed to choose, from one company to the next? And so there's some biggies in that. You want to make sure that it is, there's no pesticides in it. Hemp is a very a bioaccumulator. So wherever it's planted, it's going to absorb the soil, the nutrients of the soil. And so you want to make sure that those things are, organic in nature. And so there's a whole separate conversation in that. But what I really want to go back to, and how in trainers being and using it in relationship to trainers, is there's going to be saturation there. Those your clients and your customers are going to be able to go to CVS or a drugstore and find CBD in the grocery stores. It's just it's all over. So how can you decide about what type of CBD is good and why you're using it? And the first thing is like why you would want to use it, Tyler. And so that's a long-winded way to say, why are you using this product? Because if you come in and tell me, well, I need better sleep and I suffer from anxiety or whatever, and I want to use this product, that's different than a sprained ankle, or my muscle, or I have plantar fasciitis, and every time I run, I can't do it doesn't make me feel good. So in this case, with clients and with trainers in this personal space and wellness, we really want to use CBD to help our clients feel better, feel better about exercising, being able to exercise more in a consistent way, back to your point about consistency, and helping them feel successful. So when you're giving somebody, when they're so tight and they're not flexible to do a certain exercise you're asking them to do, this is a tool. It's another tool for this, so that they can feel successful about the program that they're doing. And you and I both know it's not happening if you don't feel successful, you'll want to quit. So, and again, like having people recover faster and be able to go home, take a CBD soak, or, use some of the balm or something like that to help your body feel better so that you can get back to your activity quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it for the client, because when a new client comes, or even an existing client, and you want to introduce something to them, of course, there's that trust that hopefully already exists with them, where you want to provide them with something new. And hopefully they're like, yeah, let's do it, because you already built that established trust. But bringing it to the client and relating it to something that is going to stick with them, hopefully that is a way that this can be incorporated into their post-recovery or even pre-workout routine. I think those are the big things right there, is the pre, post, or even I think you mentioned during as well. So definitely good takeaways right there for personal trainers, fitness professionals, group exercise instructors, being able to take these items, being able to incorporate them. I think that the item where we talked about before that was really, I think really hits home with the industry in general, was the prescription of it, and making sure that whether you are talking about ingestibles or topical, making sure that you're not crossing the line as a fitness professional. Staying within your scope of being a personal trainer is important, not just with CBD items, but with exercise prescription in general, not saying someone has an injury, or making sure that you refer out. Do you want to expand on that conversation we had earlier?
I do. Thank you. Yeah, again, so much, because in this time that I've been doing this, with internal CBD, especially, because so if we go back to how we're consuming CBD, there's the tinctures or capsules, the drops, or the topical piece of it. With internal CBD specifically, it does have interactions with prescriptions. So that's one of the big, it helps your prescriptions to work better, which means that they really need to be supervised with their doctor. So you don't want to be giving internal, just because it works for you, or, for your friends, or for, the people that doesn't mean that it's going to work in the same way for that person. And so the last thing, as a fitness expert, is to recommend an internal supplement that could have contraindications with prescriptions and things like that. And then, especially you'll see this with high blood pressure, people that take blood pressure medicine, and they'll take internal CBD or some drops or something, and their blood pressure drops. Well, yes, it is. And because it will drop. That is designed to make as fitness professionals, we're not designed to be in that scenario. We're not doctors, and I don't want to put myself in that scenario. So I just steer clear of it. And I really, unless you have that kind of information and background with, I would steer clear of recommending internal CBD unless you really have a lot of background and knowledge in that space.
Yeah.
Topical CBD is different, right? And this is why one of the reasons why we love it so much, because it's still effective. You're not taking a pill to help your plantar fasciitis or anything. And you're like, well, how can that even work? But it does, because we have those receptors. It goes back to where endocannabinoid receptors are in our body. So we're seeing just as much like really great results topically, people being used to relieve pain topically, as taking internal tinctures and capsules, and much safer, so much safer. So in that regard, it does not counter indicate with any other prescriptions with high blood pressure medicines or anything like that. And it's totally safe to use topically that way.
Yeah. And I think that is such an important thing to take away from this podcast because of the applications that we see in other areas of personal training in general. When someone starts off as an entry-level personal trainer, they're told you do not want to get into that realm of prescribing diets for somebody. You do not want to get into that realm of stating injuries for a client because of, one, you're not trained on that education wise, but also that's where you can get in a sticky situation where you potentially are in a legal battle. So these types of things, as an industry grows, there becomes prescribed, I'll say, education, but even, I don't want to say regulation, but other professionals, I'll say, come together to say, here, we want to make sure that we're not doing these things because it keeps the integrity of our products and what we're trying to build so that people view these as credible sources. Same thing goes with personal training.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of professionals came together, and education wise, in almost every single entry level manual, it states how you do not want to do X, Y, and Z because it's bad for the industry and it's bad for being a personal trainer. So I think that those are things that will continue to grow as well. So before we get to the podcast takeaways, there's one more item that I want to talk about, and that's the regulation, because I think that anybody listening to the podcast can talk about, they know where certain CBD stores are, or even just a dispensary and those types of things. They know where they are. They're popping up everywhere. Like you mentioned, you can get CBD products at CVS. You can get them at Target. You can get them from companies like yours, Simple Jane. What types of regulations are there right now for in certain states, or even for certain businesses like yourself?
Mm-hmm. Well, it changes from state to state. And so what we found, just from even having to sell our products in retail stores, we needed to submit the products with the state. And so there are stipulations. If you have THC in your products, you're not going to be able to sell the products as a personal trainer, as a wellness expert or things. If you think there's a lot of things, well, right now I'm going to make my own CBD and I'm going to do this. No, there are so many regulations in even making that happen.
I bet.
Yeah. And so many hurdles to overcome that focus on your main focus, which is training and finding things to supplement that. But as far as like choosing a company and choosing the products, you really want to be careful and first align with your beliefs, with your core beliefs. If you believe in all organic products or things, then that's going to be important to you. If you, the fillers in the CBD system regulations, there's so much filler in the product, just like there are with organic or non-organic products and things like that. So watch what the fillers are, because the fillers can have adverse effects too. So And I hate to make it sound so complicated, Tyler, because, you think, well, it's just CBD. Everybody's talking about it. And certainly it can't be that hard. But this is why we take so much time with our clients and with the people that we partner with, because we do want the education there behind it. And so whatever company that you're choosing, because like in our case, we want to do a lot of education piece of it. Make sure that they have the education support behind it and the documents. So on each the batches should have testing on them. Make sure you're asking for that. It's within your right. If you're purchasing that product, hey, do you have the batch tested, or do you have somewhere on your website where we could see those test results? Because those are the things that make a company legitimate. It's expensive to have those test results done, but it's also important. It says to us and to our community, hey, we're serious about this. This isn't something that we're just making in our bathtub and, selling it on, and so it makes a big difference as far as the certification of the product.
That's really good information for anybody to know, as a consumer or somebody that's going to be an affiliate, anything like that. And I would even say it's very noble of you to say, to look at these things, being a business owner yourself, offering affiliate programs for fitness professionals or even individuals to, say, look for something that goes with your core beliefs. You're not just pushing your own company with that, which I think is very noble of you. So let's get to the podcast takeaways. And with this, I'd really like you to take over in terms of just go through every piece you can. We want to be able to provide we'll say a step-by-step process for a personal trainer, potentially running their own boot camp, running their own personal training business, or even a group exercise instructor, in terms of, steps for how they can become an affiliate, to even integration of it, and then maybe potentially some ways that they can market it within their own training.
That was a lot. So
Yes.
I'll try and wrap
We'll pick a few.
Okay. All right. But first and foremost, I love this space. As you said, I have been a trainer in the last 15 years. So to help other trainers understand this, and really, this is what I was missing with a lot of my clients in the last, when I was really training heavily with clients. So I love to do that. For trainers and fitness professionals, when you're looking at a product, you want to think of a few key components, in my opinion. Do I want to offer consumables as far as tinctures and capsules and liquids? And if so, what does that look like? Right? I mean, do you want people to come back to you with their medical questions? What kind of disclaimers might I need? So decide on what type of CBD product that you actually want to use. Is it a topical CBD tincture, or is it, topical would be in the soaks, but I guess in a vape, I don't even count that. So in my opinion, there's two. Do you want to do topicals or tinctures, or a combination of both? And what do I need to have that? How do I want to use it in the studio, in my practice with my clients? Because there are several ways, and this is where it gets so good, where you can use this and really integrate it with your clients. Number one, as a service. So if you're adding on to a service, so say you have a package of 10 sessions, and you want to add in a stretch session. So maybe you add in 2 or 4 CBD stretch sessions, right? So those are 20-minute sessions. You can add it into an upgrade to a service that you're doing. So that, in addition, it's like, well, we're adding on CBD stretches for, 20-minute CBD stretches, and you can buy a package of those, or however you integrate those. So that's one way of upgrading as a service. The other way is to integrate it into a class. So if you have group classes, use it for a warm-up, whether it's yoga. And I keep using that as yoga, but I mean, it could be a high performance class of where you're using it to increase blood flow and oxygen. So you're using that product as a way, as your class, once people are finding out and seeing the results and seeing how it's working and how they love it, because people love the smell usually, it's just the aromatherapy of it, then they're going to want to buy it immediately. So then that leads them to the retail place, right? So you're integrating a product, whichever product that you choose, in multiple fashions in multiple aspects of your business. It's not just a product that you're sitting on your shelf because it's not going to sell. And if you're just selling a product, people want to know, how do I use this as maybe more, if it is with a recovery, have a recovery class, have a stretch rock and roll class, or this is how you use CBD to recover faster. Post those types of workshops into your place, and then provide the retail element to it where people can buy right there and purchase it right there. So that would be my best advice for that, is people just to implement and to use this, or use it as a bonus, as a sign up. When you sign up for this, we're going to use this balm because we know we're going to give it to you really heavy. We're going to make you work out really hard, and you're going to need this recovery mode, or whatever, to help you get through that. So I have so many ideas. You do want to partner with a company that has a lot of ideas and marketing, chops behind them, because those are the things that, we really partner with our people and help promote them and support them in marketing materials with whatever they're doing. We're happy to do workshops. So whatever company that you're choosing, if that's important to you, you want to make that, part of your, again, core values of what you're doing. So marketing aspect, make sure that people, I would suggest just whether it's online workshops where people can come and get information, with a Facebook group, hosting that. People have questions. They just have so many questions about it. Or doing, of course, in-personal trainings that way. There's tons of ways, Tyler. I could go on and on. I don't want to bore anyone, but those are just my top ways of how to integrate it into your business.
No, that was really great right there. I honestly think that was one of, if not the best takeaways so far with this podcast, because of the actionable steps somebody can take. But also what I was thinking about was, I know several trainers. I can't deny that I wasn't one of them. That when I owned a business, I prescribed to one of those, what are they called? LMM, or the MLM. There we go. Nutritional products, because, okay, I have the audience, I have a boot camp, and here is an additional element that can potentially help out the participants. And also I get a little kickback on it if they're buying and they're purchasing. But the item right there that I saw a major difference is with the nutritional supplements, you're hoping they're using them outside of the class. You're hoping that they are taking their shakes or taking their drinks and they're using them and then hopefully rebuying. With the steps that you just provided, you're using them with them in the class and then providing the retail service. So you're providing as part of a package deal that you can make that additional income off, and then also additional a resource that they can purchase it later on. Those are actionable steps that somebody can utilize to market and also build their business out right there. So that's why I think that was one of the best takeaways right there, in terms of the actionable steps that somebody can utilize.
Thank you. I have one more that is so important.
Please.
That I want to share with you. Yes. And because it was a success story of one of the most, of a gal that really sold out before she even got the product. I mean, she did the right steps. When we were talking about the steps leading up to it, she let everybody know that this was coming in, that this was something that was, and we teamed together and we got the word out. Hey, this is coming to the spa, this is coming. And then she did all the right things. So she invited everybody there, made sure everybody knew about it. She informed her staff, so if you had a group of clients that, you really wanted to bring in, inform them about it. And she sold out within the first 5 days of her order. And then
Wow.
continues to do well because she follows the steps. So when you were talking about the steps, how do I make this successful? And again, partnering with a company that looks to you as a business partner is important, right? Not somebody that's going to dump off product to you that, here, sell this product, but that looks as you as a partner is important. But beyond that, integrating, having that plan before of, hey, come and try this and experience this, and this is what I'm doing, is a really big proponent of making this successful. Once your clients and your people know, your audience sees you using it and how you recovered, Tyler, for your legs and things like that, from your competing, it makes a big difference in how they perceive it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's one of the big differences right there. If you are selling supplements, are you using those supplements? Are you regularly utilizing them? And so the takeaways you gave are actionable ways that somebody can take this product, utilize it themselves, but then also incorporate into their business. So really good stuff right there. So Angela, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast, really diving into the items that I think are going to help any trainer be able to understand the differences, also be able to talk about what CBD is, and hopefully integrate it into their business. Angela, thank you so much for coming on the KIPS Personal Trainer Application Podcast. You were a great guest.
Thank you, Tyler, and everybody.